Hello and welcome to Comedy in a Nutshell, the podcast where we sit down and crack open the hard outer shell of the world of comedy with the people who live and breathe it. Hear that? That was a nut joke. It took me 90 episodes to come up with that. Was it worth it? No, it wasn't. Not as easy as it looks, is it? I'm the comedy nerd who's seen more than 1,500 comedians perform live comedy, and you can find out more about my journey in comedy fandom on my website, thecomedynerd.com. If you like to hear what comedians have to say as much as I do, then please like, subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast. Thank you. My guest this episode is a comedian who, in conversation or on stage, seems to constantly exude excitement and joy. She's been performing largely sketch comedy over the last few years, but in 2024 she went to the Edinburgh Fringe with her excellent debut hour of stand-up. It's comedian Alex Franklin. Why don't you tell me about your earliest memory of comedy? Was it a big influence on you growing up?
Oh God. I think, okay, there's two things here. Because the first one is like memory of comedy. The second thing is like first started doing it. The first started doing it one is I think I started doing, this is tenuous, but I think I started doing comedy because I used to go on these like Christian summer camps every year.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the year, at the end of the camp, they'd have this like show that was like, they kind of almost expected like all the year groups to essentially do like a little sketch or series of sketches or something.
Yeah.
And I remember one year just being like, I'm gonna say underwhelmed by the quality of our sketches. And I was like, well, I've got to be a part of this. So I want to make this good. And so I just like wrote one and then like helped with another and stuff like that. And then they went like weirdly well. And so I was like, all right, I'm not bad at this. I think I've like developed. I think I'm quite good at a lot of things if given like a lot of like time or training. But I think it was the first thing I did that I was like, you know what, right out the gate, I think I've got something on this at least. Although there's probably like a build up. You could probably go back into like, I don't know, some conversation I had when I was 4 when I was told about like a pullback and reveal. I didn't even know it. They're like the first like time I saw comedy, I think I was raised a lot by like the internet and TV and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just kind of everywhere. I think I was kind of just overwhelmed by content consistently. So I think I when I was like young, I think I just had so this is gonna be, I don't know if you're gonna find it towering or not. I think when I was growing up, I rarely didn't have a screen playing somewhere, I think.
Right.
So it was either like a computer, I was like doing video games, or I had TV on in the background while I was doing homework, or I was like doing I just had a phone doing something like, which I know is like a sort of like Charlie Brooker Black Mirror sort of future, but it's like I don't know. I think that's probably my first. Yeah, I'd say that's probably my first watch it because I remember like turning on TV and like BBC Three used to have like loads of comedy shows.
Yeah.
Kind of when that was still running, and they used to do this run of like, they had like Live at the Apollo, and they'd also had like they had like Cuckoo, I think was like a thing with Greg Davies, and then they had like a bunch of like American animations. They had like the Family Guy, American Dad, things that they always would like just churn out to the UK.
Yeah.
And then I think in the I think on like, and then I think E4 used to have loads of stuff as well. And I think separate from that, I think a lot of YouTube things are, a lot of the things that became quite viral are innately quite comedic, and a lot of sort of longer form things were also very comedic because I think it's probably a slightly easier thing to make in a lower budget. So I think a lot of my youth was just a bunch of people doing silly sketches online in the 2010s and stuff.
It's interesting to me because I mean, you'll forgive the generational gap. Because when I think about when I was growing up, and there were like 3 channels, and there was no computers and there were no phones. I've literally watched the advent of these tools, and then when you talk, it's like constant stimulation. It's like, I had a billion influences. I'm like going, well, I remember when Channel 4 came out, our content went up 30% overnight.
Oh my god.
And like, what? So I mean, it was Channel 4, so it was rubbish, but it was but it's so interesting that you should have so much stimulation, so much influence so early on.
Yeah.
Were you even aware that you were in an age where information was just being pumped out at you constantly?
I think I was, to a certain extent. I think I was definitely aware that it was like, I think I grew up a lot with like the idea of just being like, don't trust things all the time, don't trust sources, don't trust this. Um, but I think it made me very. I think I became very internet literate like quite quickly, and I think
Mm.
I don't think I did. I didn't. I wasn't on social media that much, so I think I kind of avoided that nightmare because that is like empirically terrible for you. Um, so I, so I think it was fine. At least had like produced content that was, even if it wasn't the highest quality, it like something someone had clearly like been like, I'm gonna write a thing, and they made it and
Yeah.
they put it out for people to see. So it wasn't like just like nothingness. But I definitely it was a lot of like I yeah, I definitely I think I definitely remember all having it all the time, and when it wasn't there, having this like weird eerie silence, kind of,
Yeah.
and then which is again bad. This isn't reflecting well on my like my upbringing. Um, I think yeah, and then I think okay, I think as I started doing comedy, I actually think I did notice it more because I think
Mm.
this is my big pet theory that I don't know if there's no research into this. I don't know if it's true, but I think it's true. I think because of the generational divide in terms of online, the amount of content that
Mm.
people are subjected to.
Yeah.
If you're like, I don't know, like 35 and under, you probably have had like a lot of content consistently targeted towards you your entire life.
Yeah.
And if you're older, probably less. I think if you're younger, I think a lot of the time because you've had so much, and you're used to all this like stimuli consistently like hitting you all the time. I think
Mm.
a lot of young people in terms of comedy are much more surrealism inclined and much more like are much more willing to like pass on something very quickly just because if it's
Right.
not an instantly interesting premise kind of
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily which is not necessarily like a quality thing. It's more just like it has to like hit like that, and
Mm.
it's also can't be. I think it's if it's a thing that people tend to like have heard before, even if they're gonna do a different spin on it later. I think a lot of people will sometimes be like, nope, and then just do a left field
Yeah.
turn. I don't think it's entirely always true, but I definitely think I definitely am like I think that what people sort of are used to in terms of I basically I think people's attention spans are very short, which is neither good nor bad. It's just like I think people much more like want something new and interesting. And also if you're given so much content consistently, it's like the only thing you look for is something interesting because you're given so much. So you're like
Yeah.
you're just looking for something that hits is like something completely different. I guess. I don't know if that's is that fair? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if I articulate
I think
well.
it's fair. I mean, we're going to talk about Edinburgh in a little bit because obviously you
Yes.
took your new show, which I saw this
Oh
year.
yes.
We're going to
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about that, but
yeah.
also it's part of the Edinburgh. I don't know what you want to call it. The scene now is that everyone is building up to their hour debut. It's got to be your first hour, and then
Oh yes.
but then people now, or certainly what I've been hearing more and more, is people saying, "Well, an hour is a bit long, isn't it? Should we be doing an hour?" I'm like, "An hour? Is it long? How long are films are getting longer, and we're talking about comedy potentially be getting shorter? Is that an attention span thing now? You've got to come in and go pump, 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 and then get out and on to the
It
next
might
thing."
be. I yeah, this is the thing. I wasn't I don't know a lot of the older. I know some older comedy like influences, but I don't know loads. And so when I wouldn't know if like going back if it's just like this if it's very if it's still like incredibly intense and very high hit rate, just longer, and we just are not able to deal with that for as long. I think I think that definitely is a bit of a meme. That like I think a lot of comedians are like every show is 10 minutes too long, but I think that might just be a self-deprecation thing sometimes of just being like, I think I've got 10 minutes of like sort of cack always
Yeah.
in a show.
Yeah.
And just like there'll always be no, not always. I don't think it's as much this one.
Is the show too long, or do you just don't have enough material to fill the time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's a bit like that. And sometimes it's also like, but you try and whenever you like make one bit good, then suddenly there's always a worse bit of the show by the nature of like that segment. And even if other people like it, you're like, well, that's my worst bit of the show. So for you, that's the worst 10 minutes. So I think innately everyone just wants to cut that 10 minutes.
Mm.
But I don't think that actually solves the problem. I think you just have another 10 minutes that you're like, this bit actually kind of sucks. I think. And I think it's just all relative. I think it's just that. I think yeah, I think it's I think the also it's like if you can make it shorter, it's like a different style of thing. It's like a different art kind of. You know, it's
Mm.
like if you do a half-hour show, it's just different in you can do less things than like an hour show in terms of like long running structure and narrative and things like that.
Yeah.
I think I definitely remember having said that, I did a sketch show, like a narrative sketch show a couple years ago with like it was me and someone called Will BF and someone called Noah Geelan, and we did like a little trio narrative sketch show about lifeguarding,
Hmm.
and like this world of lifeguarding where like lifeguards like the rock stars to the world.
Pool
Uh,
noodles.
it was pool
Yeah.
noodles. Oh my
Yeah.
god,
Yeah.
yes, what a deep cut! I bet. Um, but yeah, I think I remember that we had real issues with like we could not get it down under an hour. We kept trying and trying. And we were like, there's one time we did it, it was an hour 45, and we were like, this is an issue. We need to like fix this. So I don't know. I think it depends. I think it depends on the type of show. I think that show had like so many things. It was like a big adventure sort of show
Yeah.
that I think sometimes we were like, we've got 5 minutes to do an entire scene where you have to introduce an old man who's a janitor and a cannibal, and he lives in the pipes. And then there's another kid in the pipes, and they're stuck there, and they're called Swimothy, and they've been there for 30 years, and they poop their pants all the time. And then it's like you got 5 minutes to do that, and you're like, that's too many things to put in. So I think it depends. I think if you start your show being like, I want to just cram everything in, it's gonna. I think it's yeah, it just depends on the show. If you want to cram as much in as possible, an hour is gonna be too short. If you like just want to like build on one premise, an hour is like an insane amount of time to do that for. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. That's fine. Is that an answer? I don't know how to answer the question at all. But
I think we've way deviated from the question, but
yeah, sounds about right. Okay.
So again, if we go back a little bit, if you filter through all the noise,
Yeah.
were there early inspirations that made comedy sort of a bigger thing in your life? Were there people or shows that you saw, or people that you knew who really influenced and enlarged comedy as a feature?
Oh God. I think so I definitely remember going to my first Edinburgh Fringe and
Hmm.
seeing just I was going up with some okay, so is this I was about to shit talk something, but I don't know if they're you know what, they're not gonna listen to this. Alright, so it's fine. Okay.
They might.
Uh,
Hey, people listen.
okay. I was I simply hope this one person doesn't listen. But I went in 2017. No, you know what? If they should know by now. It's been like 7 years. Okay, so in 2017,
Yeah.
I was at Cambridge, and Cambridge went up to the Fringe with two musicals.
Hmm.
Um, one was Six the Musical, which obviously became a smash hit and was really, really good.
Yeah.
The other one was called Don't Ever Change, and it was not the best. And I was in that one, and it had such issues that speaking of timings for an hour, there was an issue of like, it's like hour slots at Edinburgh. They
Mhm.
basically the show was running at like an hour and a half, and instead of cutting anything, the writers were like, just say it faster. So people just they were like rapidly saying these insane lines throughout this like thing, and then having to like it's hard to sing faster than like the tempo is like required. But yeah, and then so but like I think while I was up there, I went to go see a guy called Tom Walker, like the Australian one, not the British one,
Mhm.
like not the Jonathan Pie guy, like the he's like kind of more surreal sort of like like a like clowny mime boy, I guess I would describe him as, but more speaky. He speaks.
The speaking
And
mime. Oh,
he
okay.
speaking mime, a rare speaking mime. Um, but he did a show. He did like a show that was like, um, the like most ludicrous show that like. I think it's still one of my favorite things. He doesn't. I don't think he knows this. I don't think he doesn't know who I am. But I'm just like because I've never met him since. But I was just like, I think it was one of my favorite things ever. And I think it was just so, yeah, like so many cool ideas, and there's so much like just like goofiness and silliness in it, and like joy as well, and but also like effort into parts. They like really back. It was like clearly he like made an effort to try and get people to laugh, which I think there's sometimes an argument of being like, oh, and make it seem like effortless, but sometimes I'm like, I like effort, especially if it's like
Yeah.
someone's doing like a big like sort of like making a bunch of games or like doing a bunch of like music stuff. I'm like, no, I like effort. Effort's good sometimes. But yeah, I think I saw that and I was just like, that's so good. And I think I wanted to at least like try and do bits like at least learn bits how to like get that sort of like reaction that he did maybe, or maybe even
Yeah.
that sort of like maybe even the sort of like joy he felt and he like had on stage, I think a lot of the audience had. I was like, this is really fun, and I feel better for it.
Yeah.
Um, and then and I think me and a friend were really weird to him after the show because we were like, we kept just being like, that's the best thing we've ever seen. And then I think we'd said that too many times. But but like yeah. And then I think I guess other inspirations would just be like, I think I definitely saw a lot of this is just like happened. This is kind of almost sheer coincidence. I think when I was younger, I just watched a lot of comedians who all turned out to be trans. And it was like, so I watched a lot of Mae Martin and a lot of like Sarah Keyworth and a lot of like I don't know, people like that. I remember seeing Jordan Gray on The Voice, which is like a fun time,
Yeah.
and being like, oh, she's really cool. But I was like, a lot of it was just like I think it was very accidental that the trans synergy happens. But I think like I watched a lot of them and I was like, this is really funny and really good. And I also and also anything narrative based or storytime based. I watch a lot of like comedy. I watched a lot of animated shows when I was younger, and they're
Mhm.
often very comedic in vibe. Like there was a show called like Gravity Falls, which I like think I watched religiously, and it's really well done, but also so funny. And I watched it back to be like, was I just a kid, and was I like making it up and being like, oh, this is trying to be like, oh, it's my first introduction to humor. Maybe that's probably why I found it funny. And I watched the first episode back, and I was like, no, this is really good. They do a whole bit about like they basically set this idea of like I think there's the two of them. There's like the boy and the girl starts dating this boy, this like other person, and the boy's like suspicious of them, and then the boy gets this book of like creatures that like exist in the forest.
Hmm.
And they still go through a few. It's like, oh, it could be like zombie or like well actually no, they just like look through this book and they're like, oh, I guess this creature's like Bigfoot or zombie or gnomes or like this or like this giant spooky snake thing or whatever. And then he looks at like the boyfriend and he's like, oh, they're from the book. They're from the book or whatever. Like the zombie guy. And it like looks just like the zombie character. And then like they do a reveal basically like about 5 minutes later of it's not the zombie, it's just five gnomes dressed in like a weird like structure where they each like pilot like the different arms and legs and things. And I'm like, I was like, that's good. That's a good reveal. That's good setup as well. I don't know. Does that make? It's hard to describe, but I think does that? Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was there?
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah. I mean,
cool.
in some sense, it made sense.
That's,
Was there
yeah.
like a catalyst, like a moment in time when you said, "I want to be a comedian. This is what I want to do."
Not really. I kind of in second year at university,
Hmm.
I was good at I was doing it a bit and stuff
Yeah.
every now and again. But I think I was actually finding it quite tough to do at university because I think I didn't have the same cultural reference points as a lot of the people sort of doing it because I
Okay.
think they were very um very like not that I'm not middle class, but they were very like white and middle class and had a very like I think very British upbringing. And I don't think I had a very like typically British upbringing. So they do all of these sketches about like your I don't know, your aunt driving you to soccer practice or whatever, or like football practice. And I'm like, I don't think no, I would never if I asked my mum to drive me to, to football practice, she'd be like, no, get the tube. I'm I'm talking to people in China, and I would be like, but yeah, I think I think yeah, so I found it quite tough. And then I think but then I did in kind of as like a random thing, the like Chill Student Comedy Awards
Mhm.
thing and it was like probably it was my first gig ever with a compere because I'd only done sketch shows really before,
Right.
as like little bits. And so I was like, I kind of went in and did like a weird character bit that didn't really make much sense, but I think it had loads of just structured jokes.
Yeah.
And and it somehow got to the final, and I was a bit like, oh shit, maybe I'm actually okay at this. And then it kind of, and I did well. And then I think I accidentally. This is an insane thing. I accidentally fell into there was like a the BBC New Comedy Awards when it was on the radio.
Yeah.
I think I did the final one before it went onto like it transitioned to TV. But like on the radio, I submitted a sketch that I had done in like a theater show or whatever,
Yeah.
and it got in, and I was like, what the fuck? And so I went to go down to London to do that, and then it was cool because I didn't realize I actually didn't know what it was. I didn't realize that it was a like a competitive thing. I kind of just submitted it as like a oh might as well I'm about. Um And then I went to the heat of it, and I was so out of my depth. I think I did terribly in it. But I think the people I remember because it was like the people who were in it were like it was like Chloe Petts and like Esther Manito and all these big people. And I went in as like this random kid. I think I literally didn't know everyone there were like comedians. So I went in being like, "Oh, so what do you guys do for like jobs and stuff?" And they would be like comedians, and I would be like, "Oh yeah, but what do you okay? But what do you do outside of that? Because I'm like a student and stuff." And they'd be like, "We are comedians," and I'd be like, "Well, I've misjudged this entirely." Um, but yeah, I think I don't know. I think the fact I like did those and they did a bunch of stuff, I was like, "Okay, I'm at least decent at this."
Mm.
So I think I started doing it and I really enjoyed it. And I think me and I liked doing a lot of narrative sketch stuff when I was at uni. So me and some friends did that. And I also did solo stuff because I was like, I want to just like expand
Yeah.
into these sort of territories and see what it's like. And I think I like making people laugh. And I think I just enjoy doing like interesting things and just seeing what happens and seeing if a weird creative challenge is possible.
Yeah.
Like this is arguably my first year doing like a stand-up show because every year before has been like a weird alternative thing. But it's I don't know. It's that's kind of how does that
Yeah.
that's loosely the path if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there are a couple of competitions you've been in then, and obviously you've done others as well, but do you have a competitive streak in you?
Oh yeah, 100%. But that's not. I don't think that. I don't necessarily is good. I actually try and not apply it to comedy because I don't think it makes sense for comedy. But I used to play video games in my university.
Mm.
Like I did esports at like a relatively like high level. I actually think I'm the most competitive person I know in terms of like I like you will rue the day you're in a game of like werewolves or mafia with me or like on any sort of like social strategy based thing because I go like so become really Machiavellian all of a sudden at the point where people will always try and get rid of me immediately from anything because they're like, we don't know what Alex is going to do. And also Alex is, even if you think Alex is being really nice right now, Alex is actually plotting something underneath. So I think so which I like to think doesn't apply to real life, but it's yeah, I think sometimes I'm definitely very competitive,
Mhm.
I think, but I don't think and I think for academics I was really competitive growing up, but I don't think for comedy I think I was a bit more, but I think it's so versatile that it feels almost like it's kind of pointless to be competitive about it because it's like, well, how do you compare? There's no metric really.
Mm.
There's like some, but they're not the be all and end all. It's not like you get like a mark on an exam.
Yeah.
So it feels like not as efficient. I wish we could have an exam. I'd love to have an exam. I think I'd do great at it.
So yes, you said that this year is your first year doing stand-up,
Yeah.
but also it's your first year, and you'll forgive me if I'm very clumsy about this, but I believe this is the year that you transition. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, loosely,
Loosely.
I think loosely. So 2023 was like probably when I started, but
Right.
like it takes a while to like get effect. I think there's a
Sure.
typo in the fringe brochure because I put 2024 by accident. But like but yeah, 2023 was the first year, and
Yeah.
then I think I was more sort of like a bit more gender fluidy. I think last year, and then this year's the first year that I'm just like, oh, trans woman, trans girl, that's the vibe.
Right.
uh, yeah, that's it, kind of. I think, and I'm much more confident. I think in
Right.
that sort of thing about myself and that sort of like gender identity because I was just like, because I think I'm just much more confident now, and so I think it just translates. But yeah, first
Yeah.
year.
Then going out and doing your first stand-up show as well. Is it easier to do stand-up? Did it help in the transition? What I'm trying to in a very clumsy roundabout way is say,
Yeah,
what is different now as it was a couple of years ago in terms of the way you perform
yeah.
comedy and the way you are yourself?
I think it varies a bit.
Mm,
I think okay, so first thing on a personal level, I think it's made me better because I think I'm just more comfortable with myself. I'm more confident.
sure.
I think I'm more chill with being like I can take more risks. I think I can be like I feel funnier. I feel just like more sort of like I think I can enter that sort of like flow state a bit better. And I think I have less of a sort of like weird back and forth in my own head about like things I should do because I feel more like me
Yeah.
and stuff and like a person. So at the very least, I'm always like, well, I'm doing this and I want to do that. So I'll do that. Rather than before, it was much more like external validation a lot of the time.
Right.
Um but I think also it's the random things is like I think I can get away. I can't get away with being as rude as I used to be on stage. I think this might be to just do with like how people perceive femininity, but I think people see it as more shocking if you're rude to someone as a girl than if you are as a boy, because I think we're more used to that. I think in popular culture. I don't know entirely. This is all just like my thought as to maybe why, because I just remember doing bits which I wouldn't be as like I think as shocking,
Yeah.
and then people suddenly being like, "Oh," and then I'm like, that was fine before." But it might also just be because their perception of like trans people and stuff.
Mm.
I think it varies also. I think if you're like a if you're I think as like a trans woman, it's like you're also the audience reaction to you as soon as you get on stage is so much more varied, because if you go into certain areas and certain people,
Yeah.
they're just much more like, oh, it's fine, whatever. Other people will be like incredibly positive and stuff, and then other people will be incredibly negative. And you're like, so it's always this judgment of being like, okay, what sort of level do I have to hit? Actually, incredibly negative might be a bit harsh. No one's really that incredibly like wary, I'd say.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
And so I've had audiences where they're a bit like, I don't know, they pull back very quickly, instantly, kind of. Not so much like Edinburgh, or, like people come see me, or like it's like I don't know, I'll do a gig that's like more like a club comedy night or whatever,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and where it's like you don't have as much control of the like clientele, and also they don't know that you're there, so it's completely random.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I think that I definitely um I think there is a sort of that's like like a big sort of like performance difference. I also think I can people definitely like I this is more just like a comedy industry thing. I think it's scarier to get from gig to gig now because there'll be strange men. But like that was just like go also because I'm often carrying like a big keyboard, which is
Mm.
very very like a silly choice, but yeah, so I'm like, oh man, I'm not the most mobile, but yeah, I think I'm trying to think of like other ones of like just like stage personas. I think um yeah, I think generally I it's just a lot of the I think there's less of a I think for women there's like less of this idea of like you can be a variety of things. And I think for men I think it's there's people are more used to different types of like persona and stuff. And I think for women it's people are a lot less used to that. So it's I think you can as a boy play off like loads of different things that have culturally come before you, but as a woman it's sometimes can be a bit harder. Not for a lot of people, but it's like I think it's yeah, people will see it as more inherently dramatic when you do maybe play on something that a boy could play off of. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay, all right, we got close enough. I'm not gonna claim to be a incredible theorist or anything, but I think yeah, I think that's loose. I think that loosely that's been the experience, kind of.
Yeah.
I think. But I also, who knows? Maybe I'll just do something like incredibly like weird and rude next year and see what happens.
But it's interesting because also, like you say about you can't not being able to control your audiences, but obviously if you're doing a solo show
Yeah.
as opposed to a mixed bill or a sketch show, people are coming specifically to see you, so
Yes.
they know that you are the person they're going to
Oh yeah.
see.
Oh, those are fine. Those are fine. Those are great.
Yeah.
Those are, yeah, stunning. If anything, they love. Yeah, because it's like I think I think the show especially this year,
Mm,
the kind of subject matter and topic and title and like poster and design was like a very clear filter
yeah.
as to like who wants to go see this. If this isn't your thing, then you don't need to come. And I think that's kind of fair. Like not everyone wants to see um I don't know, not everyone has to see every kind of show ever, kind of. So it's fine. But like I think because that people came and they kind of knew what it was going in, it wasn't like yeah, people weren't like, this isn't what I paid for. I expected a clown show of miming and, and it's
A
like
talking mime.
talking mime. Where's the talking mime? So for those listening, I did a show called Girl Code at Edinburgh Fringe, which is basically it's about a few things, but I guess trans joy
Mhm.
is because I wanted to put like happy trans vibes out, and then also my first year on like HRT, and loosely also about coming out to my dad and stuff. I never wanna. I actually don't know because I was told not to like say too much sometimes because it was like, oh, spoilers. But I'm kind of like, well, Edinburgh's done, and maybe I don't know. I don't think it affects the show that much. It's coming out to my dad and a bunch of other things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess also it's like it's a lot of like stand-upy stuff, but it's also just a lot of like um I use a lot of PowerPointy things and a lot of music at times, and
Yeah.
it's just things I'm just like, this will be interesting, and just like chuck it on a screen. It also, I talk about zoology quite a lot on it because I think I know a lot about it and I find it
Yeah.
really funny to talk about like raccoons and things. So, but yeah, Trans Joy show about trans joy is essentially what it's about.
Yeah. Is this a show that you're going to be continuing with? Are you going to be looking to tour it?
We think so. I mean, like, hopefully. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, yes, definitely, at least in like a few places, and then we'll see where we can go with it. It's kind of like we're in that sort of post fringe,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what to do, where to sort of do what months, what times, all these sorts of things. I think like definitely would want to do a London one, and hopefully we've been talking to some people about that. We'll see how that goes, kind of.
Hmm.
Um, well, we'll definitely do one in London, and then hopefully in some like other cities as well. And we'll just kind of just wherever we'll take it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
I think because it'll be fun to do, and I don't know. I think one of the best bits of the show is I got to talk to loads of like young trans people afterwards, or like even just like dads who would just come up and just talk about it and just say that the show meant a lot to them and that they really
Mm.
connected with it. And I was like, that's really I don't know, it felt good. It like as the it was a show that I was like the design of it was much more like this is for other people, not so much just like gratification for me. It's not really for me, kind of. And so because of that, it felt much more like validating than all the sort of like I don't know, previously I don't want to be like self-centered, but like the sort of previous work of being like, I'm doing this because I think it's funny and it's for you guys as well, but it's kind of for me. Whereas this was like directly for other people, which I feel I don't know, feels nice about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah. They're talking about it being about trans joy, but you do come across as joyful in the show. And one thing I love about
Oh
watching
yeah,
comedy is when I see an act who are clearly enjoying what they're doing. It's fun for them. It's not like a
oh
recital.
yeah,
You are joyful and energetic on stage, and it's a great show.
yeah.
And it's funny and it is moving as well. But
Oh,
there's
thank
also a
you.
lot going on. There's a lot going
Yes,
on.
it's a lot. Some critics might say too much. It's like
But I mean, is that a thing where you're sort of saying, well, I want to put in these slides and I want to play music and I want to do stand up? Are you overburdening yourself?
I think, yeah, but I think it's kind of fun too. I think it's like I'd prefer that than underburdening. Underburdening would be terrible. Imagine an underburdened show, like just like silence for like 2 minutes at a time. I, I think I don't know. Yeah, I think I just like putting stuff in and I like doing stuff and trying to show as many things as possible and trying to tie in as many ideas as possible and trying to see if we're going to like intertwine them and bring them together.
Yeah.
And I think I also, yeah, I like being joyful on stage. I think um yeah, I think it's like you said, I also really like it when people on stage and they're clearly like happy doing the thing that they're showing because I've never I'm not against it, but I think people used to buy into this idea of like the sad clown narrative of like the idea of
Yeah.
comedians they're really like they all have to be really sad behind the scenes and stuff. And it's like no, I don't think that's necessary. I think there's only things in comedy that could cause that, but it's not like it's not requirements of being in the industry. And I don't know. I think I'm genuinely just quite happy right now, especially like post transition. I think that was quite important for to be a part of it because I don't know. Imagine if I went on stage and I was like, "Yeah, I'm trans now," and I was so morose and unhappy. Everyone would be like, "My God, we should never let that happen to anyone ever again." That's terrible. So yeah, I think it was good that I was like, I don't know. I am happy, but it's good also just be to show that on stage and just be like, "Hey, I don't know, I'm good.
Yeah.
You guys will be good as well."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're saying there about, you like it as well when you see acts enjoying themselves. I mean, do you still watch comedy? Do you go out to see gigs specifically because you want to see comedy?
Yeah. No, definitely. I think. Um, I'll definitely, yeah, I'll try. And I was quite bad at Edinburgh because I was like, the first couple of weeks I saw pretty much nothing, but final few weeks I did see a bunch of stuff, and I was like, oh, I love a lot of this. This is all so good. I try and watch comedy. I try and like, uh, often I'll just try and be like, if a friend's doing a show, I'll just try and like sneak in because I want to go. Well, I want to
Mhm.
support a friend, and two, I can be like, can I have a comp? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. And so I like sneak in, but like, well, yeah, I just like, I don't know, I just like things. I like learning from people, and there was a. I think I really enjoy stuff that's just like different in any way.
Yeah.
Even if it's like maybe not the best thing in the world, I'll like see it and I'm like, but it was like it tried. And so I think I really back that. And also obviously a great, just like well structured stand-up show that is just well written. Like definitely like that. But I think as the things I actually go out and search for, it'll be something that has that will have like a kind of insane premise or something. This
Yeah.
kind of links back to what I was saying about like generation of this is I might have just inscribed my generation with like just what I want and stuff of being like want something that's different. We want something that's gonna hook you, that's test the boundaries. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think I think there was some like great shows in Edinburgh and stuff, and also that I've seen just generally like Tom Walker was like a few years like 7 years ago whatever, but I love that.
Mm.
And stuff like I think I got really obsessed with like a lot of Australian sort of like surrealist comedy that kind of came across like Sam Campbell and sort of
Yeah.
all that lot.
Yeah.
And then also I love I'm big right now on like narrative stuff. So there was a show called well, a bunch of there's so many shows like this, but there was a show called like Gay Witch Sex Cult at Edinburgh that
Oh
I
yeah.
loved.
Andrew Doherty.
Oh, so good. I loved it
Yeah.
so much.
It was really good.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. I think I love the just like the horror comedy vibe also being brought back.
Yeah.
And then there's one called Doctor Dolittle kills a man and reads extracts from his new book. And it's like it had like all these animatronic like robots and stuff like that, all these animatronic creatures. And I was like, that's so funny to just have in a show, to just have like a little robot puffin. But yeah, uh, stuff like that. I saw like Paulina Lenoir's one, and I was like, this is just like I've never seen anything like this before. This is great. This is so like interesting and beautiful,
Yeah.
and also really funny. But like I think yeah, stuff like that. I just like I get really really into. I think
Yeah.
but yes. What was the question again? I can't remember. I can't remember the question was.
Do you watch comedy?
Oh yeah. Okay. No, not really. Other than no,
Those just
that's
3 shows, so that's it.
just three shows. Yeah.
But I mean, but do you watch it the same way? Do you watch it as with a comedian's mindset? Are you analyzing it, or are you able to lose yourself in what's happening?
I think I'm better than most. I don't know. I think I do analyze it in a way that I'll be like, that's really cool. I think I'm very positive about comedy, which I don't think a lot of comedians are sometimes. Like, I think most comedians will see a show and they'll be like, actually, this structure wasn't that good. It had too many of this, too many puns or whatever, and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, it might be true, but like also, I don't know. It might have had a lot of really good things. I think I see the positives quite a lot, and
Yeah.
but I think I definitely am analyzing as I go, which means I think I sometimes laugh in weird places, which I think is a bit of uh, a bit of like an issue for like beats and stuff because I'll be like I'll see something that I think it's like setting up something later and I'll be like that's really funny, but
Yeah.
then it won't be what they're directing for with the audience. But yeah, I know. I think I'm a good audience member. I'm better than other comedians. I would argue. I'm not. I know there's such a trope of comedians like going sitting like front row in a show and just spending the entire time with their like fingers in their like teeth, just being like interesting, and like stroking their chin and stuff. Like it was like it's a lecture.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very very much no, I like shows. I like shows.
It's funny. I have found myself laughing out of sync with the audience because
It's all
I
good.
laugh for like 2 seconds too early because I go, oh yeah, I know
I
it's
do that.
going. And I go, "Oop."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because which is like no, I think it's I don't know. I personally when I've done like when I do comedy, if someone laughs too early, I really like that because it's like oh yeah, you're with me on this, you get it. And so which I know I don't think I'm supposed to like that, but I really do like it because I don't yeah. And I also sometimes I'll just deviate from the show to just be like to be like, you understand me, you're my favorite person here, and then just like get back to everyone. And I shouldn't, because it kind of loses the audience, but I'm just like too excited by someone being like, oh yeah, you get the thing. But yes.
Yeah. But that's why I also love like slightly more surreal thing. I love people like Tony Law because
Oh
you
yeah.
don't know where the joke is going. You can't predict
Oh
it.
no, it's
So it's
great.
just it'll
Yeah.
just like completely pull the rug out from under you with a punchline
Oh my god.
or a lack of a punchline.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's just the funniest thing because it's like he himself said, it's about the surprise.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
if you know where it's going all the time,
Yeah.
you are going to sit there with your your hand on your teeth going, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
clever.
yeah.
But then if he turns it and you don't know where it's going, that is just beautiful to watch,
Oh, it's so good. I think anything where I think also there's a lot of, even like in stand up, people do this quite a lot. I think I'm using this time to just like shout out other people, but I'm fine with it. It's
Yeah,
cool. They're
yeah.
like I think like John Tothill does this really well, where he's like, you
Oh yeah.
watch him and you're like, I have no idea. He's just doing stand up. I'm like, I have no idea where like the laughs are gonna come, but it's so well done and integrated into like his vibe and like persona and his character, and the jokes are just like part of like the eloquence of it. That I'm like, I
Mm.
actually I don't know. I watch him and it feels like, it does feel like magic sometimes.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah.
completely. I love John. He's such a good actor. I said to him on this podcast that
Oh,
the way he talks is it's lyrical.
oh yes.
It's like a melody. He just keeps flowing constantly. It's beautiful.
Oh my god, no, no,
Yeah.
it's perfect. It's like yeah, it feels like poetry or something.
Yeah.
Um and then I'm there just being like ba, ba, da, ba, 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 da, da. We're doing this section now. Ba, ba, da, da, da. It's like the most like telegraph thing in the world of being like oh
So there's a question. You talked about there about him, the persona on stage, the character being played.
yeah,
I mean, arguably this applies to you even more because now you are playing yourself, but now that you
yeah,
are yourself, more yourself, if I may put it that way.
you can.
But also, are you playing a character on stage? Are you a character of you, even though now you're more you than ever?
I'll be like oh, it's like a real riddle. Like I mean, we're characters all the time in day-to-day life. We're always like wearing masks and stuff.
Hmm.
I guess like I think a part of me is like I because okay, people talk about personas a lot, and I think I've been talking about personas a lot, but I think it's like I have this weird sort of like these two opposing views on it, of like, one, it's like, it's like it's really useful to draw on for like comedy and to like make it clear to the audience what your who you are, what your character is, what your type, like what type of person you are, how do you react to stuff.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm like, I think people overemphasize on it. I think especially when they're starting comedy, because I think they'll be like, I have to be this type of person, and they'll often draw on like other people's
Hmm.
personas, and it's not often, one, it's probably just been done quite a bit, but also it's not really reflective on what you might be best at. So I think it's sometimes better to think about it as just being like, um I think people say this all the time when people are like starting out, but like the idea of being like, when do you think you're the most funny, and when do you think you'll make like your friends laugh the most, or like a group of people laugh the most in the most sort of like similar context
Hmm.
to like a show. um and I think also I think the audience does like, not always, but I think they sometimes do really, they vibe with like authenticity and like honesty and stuff.
Yeah.
And if that's at least emotional honesty and emotional authenticity, even if you twist details and stories a little and sometimes and all
Yeah.
that. But like, so I think to that extent, I think I am just myself on stage. I think if someone was like, "Oh, the character of Alex Franklin on stage," I think I would just be like, "Well, that's me." I'm just, if someone like started being rude about the character of Alex Franklin as a persona, I'd be like, "That's being rude about me," because that's me. Yeah, I don't see much detachment, but I maybe should. I think I no, I think I'm just, no, I actually prefer it just to be like talking to people and like connecting with people on a very like emotional and quite like human level, because
Yeah.
it's like, because then I feel like, especially if I talk to the audience, I actually like get to know them a bit, and kind of like, and if I show them something, it's like I'm showing them something as me.
Yeah.
It's not me being like, here's what the construct of me wants to show you. And I think I like that genuine earnestness that you get from um producing art for other people when it's clearly attributed to you.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, nice. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Oh, I'm in my smart mode today. This is great.
Well, what about where you yourself are most comfortable? Because you've done sketch, you've done stand up, now you've done solo show, you've done spots, you've done with slides and music. So, having done all of those things, where do you find most comfort? Is it writing? Is it performing? Is it being performing with others or on your own? Or
I think I just like creating things.
mm,
I think.
yeah,
I think I get stuff out of performance, but I don't get like loads out of it. I don't think I'm like one of those. I don't think I'm one of those like comedians who talks about like they'll be like, oh, the process beforehand, it's all terrible and writing's terrible. But I go out on stage and it's electrifying, and I'm like really, I love that, and like that's like having the audience in the palm of your hands, and I'm like, it's fine, it's like it's okay. I think I just like making stuff and showing it with people. I think there's something very childlike about it, in the same way that if you had like a little, I don't know, a little kid, and they were like, I've written a play, and you'd be like, all right, let's see the play. I think it's kind of like that. I think, and so that's probably why it's so like so many different things at once. Is because I'm just like, oh, I want to show you this and show you this and show you this and show all these different other like things that I'm like, I've made this and I want you to enjoy it because I enjoy it. So it'll be fun if we can enjoy it together.
Mm,
But yeah, I don't think I like writing stuff. I like performing stuff. I think the overall thing I prefer the most is just like creating stuff that's new and like trying to like challenge myself a bit and do stuff that I didn't think I'd be able to do. I think I really like doing this show was because one, yeah, human connection. Like it felt like I got to really talk to people, and it seemed like it helped people quite a bit.
yeah.
But also, it was just I hadn't done much stand up before, and I'd never spoken about me on stage ever. So I was like, we could try this and see how it goes and see what it's like. And also, I don't think I'd ever done such like clear moments of like just like earnestness or whatever
Mm,
in a show, and trying to tie them in and also make it funny and like a good comedy show. I think was a challenge that I really enjoyed, and I think so. Yeah, which is why I'm like I don't know what. Well, I need to figure out what I'm doing. I guess next year at Fringe if I do Fringe, but like next year in just general in terms of like comedy stuff and like next projects.
yeah.
Because part of me is like, well, I don't want to do the exact same thing again. I want to do something. I want to learn from it, but I don't want to be. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to do like a copy of it with just
Yeah.
like better jokes or something. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think creation as itself, and then trying to do stuff that I would not thought I would not have easily been able to do initially. That's probably I think the thing I enjoy the most about comedy.
Yeah. What about the festival experience? So putting your own show to one side and obviously all the work and effort you put into that. What about, meeting up with other people, watching other shows in general? What about the industry side of it? How has your festival experience overall been?
Good, I think. I think good. It's
Yeah.
I'm famously so there's the whole industry side I've been famously quite bad at because I have not made an effort to contact anyone before ever. So I think, and I only kind of like I maybe like semi recently learned, maybe like a year ago learned that people were emailing everyone, and I had never done that once because I did not know that was a thing you're supposed to do. I also was like, I don't know, bother them. I've probably got like busy jobs and I have meetings and stuff and clients. I'm like, yeah. So I think I didn't really have much of that. But
Mm,
I think this year I don't know, I've had like been talking to people, I had like people email me and I'm like, oh nice. And I think it's I think what I quite like about it is it's because I think I've built up an audience over time of just like people who like the stuff I do. I think I can like sell a show quite well
mm,
in Edinburgh just from like having that sort of like grassroots thing, which is kind of nice. Um but then also I think now that people are coming, I'm like, well, I feel very confident in this because I've done quite a lot,
yeah.
and it's been I've like a slow build up, and I've definitely done like weird paths and things, but I think that's makes it if it makes it feel like more earned and more interesting and stuff. I quite like that, and maybe stuff will come from it, maybe stuff won't, but I'm either way, I'm happy to. I don't know. It's nice to when people are just like, we really enjoy the stuff you do, and I'm like, that's a good thing. And as long as I can make a viable career out of comedy, then I'm like, all right, we're good. Even if I can't, I'll do it every now and again and stuff. So, but yeah, I think it's the in yeah. I don't. I think I've been very like isolated from that interesting side of it.
Mm.
And I think I need to. It's a whole. I need to learn more. I need to talk to someone. Basically, I'll ask someone about like what I'm supposed to do. I don't fully know how it happens. Anything that I've done so far, we've just kind of fallen into
Mm.
by like just making stuff, and then someone being like, "Oh, do you want to come to this venue?" And then being like, "Yeah, oh yeah, sure, it'll be funny," and then doing that, and it kind of just spiraling. It's just like this is all this is all like one just big spiral, or one like a prank gone wrong. There's like it's just slowly become more and more things.
So, what so far then would you say have been the best and worst experiences you've had in comedy?
Oh God. Um, I think what's the best experiences? Okay, worst experiences. Yeah, is this probably the worst one? This might have been the worst one. I think I've only ever done. I don't know if it's the worst. I actually, this is the thing. I think if it's so bad, it actually becomes quite funny. So I'm kind of like, so I think once I did. I've only ever done one gong show ever, because I was basically like, I don't think I'll like them. I don't think they're for me. I didn't think they'll like me
Mm.
as a vibe. So I was like, what's the point? But then I was like, well, maybe I'm just saying that I haven't actually, given it a fair shot.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just do one. So I signed up to one. But I accidentally made it clash with like a friend's birthday party. So what happened is I had to leave this birthday to go to do a gong show and then come back. But then I was like on so late in the order, and it was running so much, and the crowd were like feral, and I went on for like genuinely 10 seconds. No, I think I went on a holding like one prop, and then as soon as I walked on, people literally said out loud, "Oh no," and I was like, "Well, that's a bad." I was like, "Well, that's a bad sign." And then what bugged me is I said a line, I said a joke, and it made them laugh. And but I think they were in this like feral mood. So they basically had in the few before me, they'd encouraged them to like go on them off like super super fast to like get through to people. They were like, be harsher, be meaner. And so people went on and they were just like boo. People went on boo like four in a row, and then me. And then I went on and I was like, oh, it's gonna be terrible. I told a joke. They laughed, and then they kind of like almost caught awareness of themselves. They were like, ha ha ha. And I was like, that's so not fair. You're just doing that because the guy told you to. You liked what I said. You liked that. And I think from then I was like, I'm not doing this. This is a waste of an evening. So went back to the party, and it was almost done. And I was like, this is terrible. This is terrible. Uh, um, but yeah, I think that wasn't worth it. I think I don't know what best moments in comedy would be. Um, I feel like early on it was nice in the sense of I think I was very I had a real crisis of like quality of myself. I think very early on. I think in like the when I was doing at uni, because I was like I think I was I'm quite anxious as a person, but I was definitely like it's been a journey for me to be more confident and less like shy and stuff, and more like so like socially confident, and especially amongst people who like I don't know, seem quite cool. But like yeah, I think because of that I was very I didn't I yeah, it was a bit of a sort of awkward experience entering. Um and so I think when I started doing like good at things, or like getting like a first like I think it was like a gig that a bunch of people dropped out of at uni,
Mm.
that was like again like just a sketch comedy night, but like someone last minute was like, hey, do you want to are you able to do this? Loads of people dropped out because they just
Mm.
bumped into me in the street and they needed someone, and I was like, yeah, sure. And they were like, it's in a few hours, and I was like, oh fuck, okay, I'll do that. So I just did it, and it was like, but I think it was at this like giant venue for no reason. And I kind of like it just went really well. I kind of crushed, and I was like, oh, it was very validating. I think yeah, I think I definitely seem just very like uh anxious, and I don't come in with much authority a lot of the time. I don't think I have like I don't seem like someone who's like going in and be like, oh yeah, no, she'll know instantly. Like they have commanded a room, everything, have everyone aboard. And maybe I do now actually. Maybe I'm underselling myself, but I think definitely at the time I was, especially in day to day like that,
Mm.
like much more shy. And I think it was nice to do that and be proven to have that validation, especially in front of people who I think might not have thought it initially. So it was nice. It was yeah. It was. I think that was probably a good one. And then it's also been incredible ones of just like this, I don't know, this gig or this moment or this sort of like show. Or
Yeah.
I think the first I got like I think last year, I mean it was the year before, but I got like a first like proper like standing ovation for a show. and I was like, "Oh, nice. Okay, that was great." And then the next day I got a 2-star review, but I was like, so yeah, ups and downs, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, so I think, like, yeah, I think it was, yeah, I think moments where people really enjoy the stuff I've done, that's any moment like that, I just feel really happy about. And also whenever anyone messages and says really like this bit, or like they clearly, it, yeah, that sort of thing, I'm always a big fan of that. Yeah, that never really gets old.
Alex, how can we find out about you and where we can come and see you?
Oh god, so you can find me on I am on all social media of Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. If you look up Alex Franklin comedy, you'll find me probably. If not, it's I think Instagram. Instagram is Alex_Franklin_hello. Twitter and TikTok, it's like Alex. I think it's a wild Franklin or something. But it's like yeah. And I guess I'll post loads of stuff about those. But also, you could probably just Google what I'm doing. I just to be honest, you could just be like see what I'm doing. I should maybe start like an email list or something. I need to do that. But yeah, I think I don't know. Well, I'll be about. You'll find me. I do many things. I'm active.
So, my last question then, the title of the show, of course. How would you sum up comedy in a nutshell?
Oh god. I mean it's weird because it's like different kinds. Comedy in a nutshell. I guess it'd be sharing silly things with people you would want to care about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that good? Is a good soundbite? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it on my gravestone. That's fine. That's good enough. Close enough.
Alex, thank you so much. It's been a genuine joy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.